What is popping, everybody? How is everybody doing tonight? Welcome to this afternoon. Welcome to the DST show. And of course, I forgot that my microphone was muted. Like, for God's sakes. It's amateur hour here. As it's amateur hour, we are already past 5 weeks into the NFL regular season. Let's clap it up for the teams that survived. I'm not using my hands. Other than that, it's been an interesting year for most, and still a regular same old consistency. Baltimore Ravens have been the biggest frauds of this NFL season, and we can put that over to an underwhelming defensive secondary. That's crazy, and of course, offensive line issues. Lamar Jackson's out again, figures, and there's just so much to cope over with that. Knowing that there's so many consistent problems with the Baltimore Ravens, trying to see if they can still contend around the high level of contending. An injury woes after getting Jair Alexander, still having a top five halfback in the NFL, with no pro quarterback, with a high tempo receiving core, and you guys are bottoming out, even behind the New York Giants, and they've lost four straight. That's telling. That's telling. Because even the Titans are above the Ravens right now in the rankings. And a negative 90, a negative 68 coming over to Detroit, or the Tennessee Titans, when they were in the same record. That's crazy. And mind you, this is why we're getting like outstanding games this season. We just finished over with the Kansas City Chiefs, closing out around like week 5 with the Jaguars, and it closed out with such a great performance. Also, I think they're in fraud watch. The Kansas City Chiefs. Let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it a buck. There's no way they're probably going to be contending around that same high tempo offense when their secondary and their pass rush around the midfield. This is why it's always some mobile quarterbacks that always give them a run for their money. Chris Jones is going to be like not going to be the saving grace over, even though they have a well disciplined defensive scheme. So let's transition over tonight's game against the Philadelphia Eagles. So they're still one of the top teams in the NFL. Usually we have longer spurts of above 500 teams keeping around their winning streak around like November. It's October, early October. And even the Buffalo Bills that started winning their first four, do they fall victim against a above 500 team? Sadly. But the Patriots are only 3-2 to close over to open the season. Like fucking Drake May of all people. Drake May upsets Josh Allen after upsetting the Kansas City Chiefs. So if we look over the allegory for the Jets and the Eagles and the Giants, it's not been a good back and forth between them over the regular season, and the Giants are looking for their first win in a while. The Giants haven't won a game since their week prior, where they looked good with Jackson Dart over his first career start with the New York Giants. Their upside has been Cam Scatterboo around the rushing offense, with already two rushing touchdowns to lead over the offense. Jackson Dart's actually been pretty exceptional his first 2 weeks over a slow comeback, but couldn't answer after like a 14-3 start against the New Orleans Saints. So what the hell happened? While even though the Eagles, that were one of the more the second undefeated team in football before this week, closed out with their fraudulent offense after having what, a 10-3 start around the first half, but had 21 unanswered. Same thing with the Jaguars, and then they get shut out. And that, it's the craziest thing. It's always the contending teams that have the most losable, winnable games in the first half, and it still looks like it's up for grabs. And against the Denver Broncos, when the Chargers were the same circumstance, that's concerning. I don't know if it's personal beef between the receiving core, because there's only a 2% margin of error around their passer ratings when it comes to Jackson only having 65, and plus that is push over majority of percentage out of 100, knowing Jackson only made 2 career starts in his NFL debut, while Russell Wilson started over the first 3 weeks, and they went to his head on a spike since week 1. Interesting. That's interesting. Because I feel like the rushing offense is still the best in the NFL. I do like Tyrone Tracy pushing over the transition. Cam Scatterboo that comes out like trying to attack defensive linemen that are 2 times his size, can push around an average of, he can average around like 5.2 if he gets the right trainer. If he gets the right training and right conditioning for the NFL season, Cam Scatterboo can be an all-pro halfback. He keeps the same mentality. The guy looks like a psychopath. And that's what you need if you want to run your offense the right way, bro. I do feel like Cam Scatterboo's that guy. You still got Zach Brown, Elliott, Johan Dotson that I feel like has taken over more grabs than AJ Brown this season, even though he's been late blooming around Devontae. Yeah, Devontae Smith taking over most of the catches, and Dallas Goedert, of course, being a second in the listing. Austin, uh, you know, a second option primarily around yards per catch. But the Giants finally got a decent enough tight end. When it comes to Johnson, Neighbors is still a deep threat. I think he's still recovering over his injury. So it's like a major concern when it comes to lineups, play calling, and how could they produce. Because the Giants have shown that if they just get their head out of swivel and play disciplined football, they could actually win above 500. They could actually keep it competitive. All because you start off the season with a losing streak around September to October. It's still open for grabs if you can win at least 3 out of your next 5, and you can still snatch wild card, knowing how open the NFC is. If you guys catch my drift. But for the Giants case, there's too many open holes, and I'm sure I know a bunch of Giants fans that would know that there's too many flaws around their development, and that goes over to their secondary too. Like their secondary goes complete. There's their whole secondary. This is the whole secondary, by the way. Oh my god. It takes a bit to like tolerate what happens over with the Giants secondary core when their pass rush is actually outstanding. I think a lot have been showing over Brian Burns that I feel like is a real game changer around the pass rush that can edge around the winging, blindside the quarterback with certain stops. You know what to get off Dexter Lawrence. We still don't know what to push over for Abdul Carter. But their secondary, I feel like, is a major Achilles heel for the New York Giants. Even 2015 secondary was a bit more recognizable to Giants fans out there. And that was only a decade ago. Yeah, it gets that worse. I was like a sophomore in high school last time the Giants were any essence of being fan favorites. And that was rookie contract Odell Beckham when he was a top five, top three receiver in the NFL, the same time as Antonio Brown and Devontae Adams. Oh my God. Just looking at 2015 NFL just makes y'all feel old if you're around Gen Z. Like like early stage Gen Zers, guys. It makes it heartbreaking to know like where we come from now. That was when the Denver Broncos, the rest Super Bowl 50. Cam Newton was was the league MVP. Todd Gurley was a top NFL running back in the day, back when he was playing over for the Rams. Marcus Peters used to be an actual reputable DB. And JJ Watt was decimating back to back defensive players of the year. Passing leader was Drew Brees. Adrian Peterson was still a rushing leader around with 1,400 yards, while receiving leader was still Julio Jones with around 1,871 yards of receiving. That's insane. That's insanity. How times have changed, man. Back in the day, the Pittsburgh Steelers are actual favorites every season with Ben Roethlisberger under the center. Detroit were perennially mediocre. You had to tolerate either Minnesota or Green Bay taking it over. With Chicago, just they were transitioning away from Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler, I think he played over from Miami at the time, and they finished 6-10. Washington Redskins went 9-7 in a piss poor NFC East, and I think that was Kirk Cousins starting. You still had Nick Foles over as your starting quarterback. No. This 2015 wasn't it Sam? Oh yes, it was Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford was your starting quarterback. And if you know, you know. I'm sure for Spongy, he was an embryo at the time the Sam Bradford was starting. This was before they drafted Carson Wentz. He wasn't a rookie until later. This is right after Super Bowl 50. Oh no, that was 2017 NFL season that they drafted Carson Wentz, because I think they had Mark Sanchez the season after. They were like completely no man's land. Minnesota also made it with a who's who at the quarterback position, or I think they were still starting Teddy Bridgewater when he was healthy, and they were just coming out after the missed kick. Yes, it was Teddy Bridgewater. Tennessee still terrible. San Diego, before they were called LA, they were over in San Diego. They went 4-12. They had such a piss poor season. Denver Broncos went 12-14 and won the Super Bowl against the Carolina Panthers that went 15-1, having probably one of the best playoff runs in the regular season runs in Panthers history and NFL history. Like, it's insane how far Carolina went after upsetting Seattle 31-27, so they don't back to back return back to the Lombardi after losing to the Patriots the season prior. And then upsetting the Carson Palmer led Cardinals. That's insane. If any of you guys remember that, that's insanity. Uh if we're looking right now into the Giants this season, there's so many controversies over the developing pressure. If they're willing to wait and still tolerate a few more passable seasons of of mediocrity before they went to like blow up so they can push over to the big market, because the Giants at least have that going for them, that they are a big market. But trying to push over contention for the youth, and they're not really pushing any scouting report. You're better off just trading up for a veteran All Pro quarterback over the hill that at least can get you guys to competitive seasons. I'm not saying that's the best way to go, but that's just my recommendation. So who we missing? Phelan Flowers, Darius Slayton's out with a hamstring injury. That's a dent in the receiving core, even though he's been out. Jackson Dart's possibly ready for practice after his hamstring, so he'll probably be prepared for the game. Or they could just suit up and rotate out with Russell Wilson. Ivan Tyler Noppin and Andrew Phillips, and I do feel like they should bench Andrew Simmons. Tyrone Chasey's out with his shoulder, so there's like a question of there's always been a questionability of health with their secondary position. But the upside is their running rotation with Tyrone Chasey and Cam Scatterboo pushing over the field. And if that doesn't work, there's always famous Jameis, Mr. 30 for 30. Jameis Winston starting his Thursday night game against the Philadelphia Eagles, a team that could have drafted him back in like 2014. Oh God. Oh God. I don't know if Buccaneers fans miss or hate Jameis Winston because he's obviously an energy guy, philosophical. He looks like a guy that doesn't mind taking the leader position seriously. Jameis Winston just has such a consistency issue with his positionary play. That's the problem. But he's a good quarterback. He's an exceptional quarterback. But the Eagles case, Eagles gotta like be very aggressive when you're pushing over. You gotta show dominance around your division, even though you're 4-1 and they're already taking it around the media like the end of the world. If you're seeing videos, it's questionable. It's very questionable around leadership and chemistry constraints with the Eagles between the connection over with Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown. AJ Brown already trying to get out. What's going to be the issue with Jalen Hurts if he really is the consistent All Pro quarterback that they demean him to be, or is it just oversaturated scare tactics and people are just blowing this over proportion? That's the thing here. Also, we had a trade recently involving the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Cleveland Browns. Let's see. And I'll display it over on screen in just a second, just to show it. Yeah, Greg Newsome in a 2026 6th round pick for Tyson Campbell from the Cleveland Browns. Secondary changeup for the Cleveland Browns and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So this pushes over their secondary depth because you're pushing now $9 million off of debt of cap space out of the team's hand for a cheaper alternative value secondary that he looks undersized. He could probably push over for the slot. Yeah, so he's pushing over a more controlled contract with a lesser cap hit that you'll probably guarantee him of a hard cap of like 6 million. So this is way better. And now Cleveland can give him a more controlled contract, extending past until he turns like 29, where he can be unrestricted free agent. Well, he'll still be getting paid. So this might be a rare Cleveland W for Tyson Newsome, for Tyson Campbell. Oh God, Bad Bunny's in the goddamn Super Bowl. I understand this is a universal event and Bad Bunny's a global star. Hell, and nobody was complaining over his appearances in WWE live events when we weren't even in his nation. He was just touring around, doing matches, working and winning matches with no political problems. And just because him entering over the league in a highly trying to be non-political space like the NFL, it's always going to spur into a controversy. I hope he does well. Honestly, I'm not a Bad Bunny listener. Look, I'm gonna keep it a buck. The only song I listened to, all because he was affiliated with WWE, was Booker T. That was it. Anything else, nigga, I don't give a fuck if Travis Scott was there, bro. He's not even the best buck 50 Negro with twists that people think can rap, even though all he's known for is Fiend, Fiend, Fiend. These rave bitch ass niggas that can't see a specific methodical lyric to save their goddamn life, and this is why the rap game is dead, bro. But that's besides me. If you guys like it, go right ahead. I'm not gonna stop you. Dable could be in his last legs, but the Eagles, what pivotal losses that they're pushing through? I've been losing Byron Young, Jalen Carter. So usually some of their pass rush they utilize could be in question to stay healthy, especially around their midfield. Hopefully Jackson Dart has time to throw. That's the question here. If Dart will have time to throw, and will they be a conservative route running offense where Hurts just got to find the guy, and they will sometimes restrict time over in the pocket because we keep forgetting how much Jalen Hurts hesitates around the pocket to make sure he doesn't force over turnovers, and that's sometimes work at a time. But sometimes they just make it so easy to make it a winnable affair for the opposition around the second half, and that even bites them, even for their previous games. We could go over the Eagles' previous games. They could have lost against Tampa. They could have lost against LA. They were so close to losing to the Rams. That was one of their toughest games of the season. When it came over in the first half after Jalen Hurts opened the game going, Joshua Kirby, then Devontae Adams got hit over for a 44-yarder, ended over the game. Joshua Kirby was pushing field goal after field goal, pushing over takeaway, and then miraculous unanswered offense. And yes, that comes off Sean McVay's play calling. But if the Giants can let the game fall to them, it might be possible. But past wars will always remind you of your failures, and if you are able to doom to repeat it or you learn from that mistake, and usually the Giants really don't learn from their mistakes whenever they play the Philadelphia Eagles. Hell, they've kept a close heart attack against the Cowboys because they're depleted around their defensive side. Even though they can push around an average 40 offensive game, but if you have no defensive team, you're not going to be a favorite team to contend in the NFL. We've seen that as soon as key pieces of your defense leaves. Look at Micah Parsons. But that's just my opinion. Through the takeaways, we have 14 takeaways. That was including the two. That 99-yard pick six coming over the Jacksonville's offense that went over for a touchdown over the Chiefs was probably the best pick six I've ever seen in the NFL. Pittsburgh Steelers only went 10 takeaways. Detroit Lions and Chicago Bears match for 9. Indianapolis that's been playing outstanding football. We have to give Daniel Jones the flowers soon if he plays over in a consistent state. Giants fans are hate watching on purpose to make sure this nigga throws at least like a Nate Peterman for like the whole month of October to January. Like, guys, come on. Sometimes you can't blame the student for failing with a bad institution. That's just my opinion. We've seen decent enough quarterbacks with more secure systems do well, and you can blame that Sam Darnold got lucky after wasting away his career on the Jets for past his rookie year. Got backed up against Andy Dalton and Baker Mayfield on the Panthers to now he had a career year with the Minnesota Vikings to doing decent enough with Njigba on the Seahawks over a legitimate contract extension. That's a self-made man right there. And now you got the Giants dealing with the defending Super Bowl champions and a below 500 record that pushes them at least 4 to 5 games back before their bye week, and their bye week doesn't start until when? If you have a late second half bye week, that's a headache and a half for you in the NFL. You need to push for late momentum. So a spreadsheet, your bye isn't until fucking week 14. That's battering ram level of consistency. Not even middle of the season. A week 9 bye would at least save a bit of your team before you edge out, because you got the Vikings, the Rams, and then you get your division rivals at home. The upside, you have the bare minimum of road status, but knowing the Giants, they need that the most if you're gonna get battered at home so much before the bye, battered on the road. Like guys, the Giants fans gotta save up their season tickets at home, because you're not going to save up for 3 games against the Packers, the Niners, and the Eagles. That would be interesting, though. Oh, an NBA preseason's here, baby. Jordan Brooks, top 3 tackle leaders out of Jordan Brooks from the Miami Dolphins. Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner. Old school Bobby Wagner with around 56 solo tackles this season. And Fred Warner with 50. Flat. Let's go, Fred. The legendary Mac Jones will help us. The great legend Mac Jones will help us win an NFL Super Bowl. Paul Pierce was arrested of suspicion of DUI. Damn! When was this? Hold on. Tracy McGrady on Evan Mobley. And then we got the first time ever LeBron will ever miss a season opener. That's insane. I think he's out for like around 7 to 8 weeks. That's a huge amount of time. You can see why the Lakers didn't want to opt into his contract, to opt out of his contract, and give him a more suitable extension, because the old as fuck, he'll miss games. I think you can put him. I think you can put him in an MVP discussion this year. Tracy McGrady said that about Evan Mobley, heavily minded Evan Mobley.
In the league. They had 32 assists last night. I believe they're going to be the best offensive team in the league. They had 32 assists last night, 68 paint points, and 13 dunks. They're going to get out and run, but they're going to get stops, and it's going to be led by their best defender in Amen Thompson, who I believe is going to challenge Victor Wembanyama in the next few years as the best two-way player in the game. I believe.
I do feel Amen Thompson does have that way to transition around perimeter defense. But how you could protect around the glass and go get chase downs is always like second to none. Especially in this game where people want to pull up and shoot. You need that shot blocker. You need a shot blocker, especially how they're going to move out the ball in transition. They need also a point guard. They lost Fred VanVleet. Do what? He tore his Achilles, I think. Rockets are questionable already, and that's already gambling on getting rid of your best 2 guard you guys had since James Harden. for 39-year-old Kevin Durant. Charles Barkley calls out Giannis defends the Bucks. These guys, they feel that they're entitled to play for the championship every year. Everybody wants to win the championship, but the Bucks have done everything they possibly could. Yeah, like give me Kyle Kuzma. Give me Kyle Kuzma. And Jason Tatum, he seems to be fully fit, doing standing dunks too. This guy is a cyborg. I know people in the NBA space never give Tatum his due, but it takes a real player to just come back from an Achilles tear after that horrible hustle play that earned up with him tearing his Achilles back in the quarters in the Eastern Conference semifinals against us. That was a tough loss that the Celtics had. That's why we pulled off the series upset against the Celtics. And then he started braiding his fucking hair, and it's back from me hating him. Sorry, trying to catch my breath. So LeBron James will miss over the season opener in Enes Kanter is blaming LeBron James for Russ being jobless. If you play with someone like LeBron, it's all about LeBron. If the season fails, then you need some kind of scapegoat. After that, looks like his career. This guy can't even find a team right now. Enes Westbrook hasn't played with LeBron James since 2023. Westbrook has played for 2 NBA teams. The accountability gotta be somewhere, my nigga, because Westbrook was playing like Westbrook since the time he won the MVP. He's older now and he still plays the same way. He's a perennial hustle man in the current NBA. When are we gonna just Enos, when are we gonna take it like you're not banned? For your political, trying to push over your political agendas around wearing certain sneaker brands, but then you wore the sneaker brands anyway. When is Enos gonna shut the fuck up? And then you want to push over Westbrook as being the accosted scapegoat. Don't get me wrong, Westbrook, I felt like was getting overly harshly criticized, but that goes for a plethora of players that also played with big name teammates and it didn't end up panning out at all. You take it like we don't say something to Karl Anthony Towns if he fucks up. We call him the Bodega Cat, and then we call him Zesty after he fails. There's no in between out of all of this. Westbrook was severely inefficient. Do I feel like he deserved the harsh critiques involving him being performing badly and he's ruining LeBron? Sure, no. But it was warranted an extension after a poor couple campaigns where you were gifted an opportunity to play on the Los Angeles Lakers to be contenders. I'm just saying. When it's time over giving the new media to the pro athletes, you'll see the guys that actually own up to the failure or just some that blame. Enos, you were a Knick. That's a fun fact about you. And I know he's defending a former Thunder teammate because I know Enes Kanter used to play with Russell Westbrook back in the time when they were both on Oklahoma City Thunder. But just trying to push over the agenda that LeBron is visibly scapegoating you, and you give no reason for him to consistently trust you around the floor. Why do you think he was off the team later? And this was February deadline day. Westbrook getting given away to the goddamn Clippers. And that was over a three-way trade that involved the Utah Jazz. Twice in that order. Westbrook would be lucky to still given a legitimacy contract. People are still feeling like he'll go to the Sacramento Kings. And nobody wants that in their life. I don't want that from my worst enemy. But that's just a reality of Westbrook's flawed playstyle since his time when he took over the reins over in the Thunder, when he was becoming an All NBA guard, boosting his production, being Mr. Triple Double, but inefficient around the clutch, other than bigger moments. He needed that guy that can complement his inefficiencies around his shooting splits, other than over in the corner. And even that, he was hitting over the side of the backboard. And Kenter just saying that, like, Westbrook was a reason you play with better guys, you play better. When Westbrook's just predominantly pushing you over the ball in that age, you're just better off getting a younger guy that costs you less money. Even though Westbrook, I'm sure, would be a great energy guy for a different team, sometimes it'd be the player's fault. And it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. That's just my opinion on the matter. That's it for me over the DSC show. Like, comment, subscribe for more. Get ready for Thursday Night Football. Shout out to YTC Productions. He usually streams around this time. I know the New York Giants are his team, so I'll probably expect him to stream live over. You can check him out on his channel.